And it's working. All right, guys. After February being the month from hell, I can't wait to move on to March. And got my community strike gone. Just to let you know what's been going on. Got a community strike around November. I deactivated a lot of my social media that I wanted to do, basically because it was just I had some people wanting to take my channel down. Amazingly enough, which I really didn't lose any sleep over. And now I'm not as accessible. The other thing is I had the flu, strep, and ended up with mono. And I think I caught mono at the doctor's office when I got the flu and strep treated. And then end of the month, messing up my beard. I got up early in the morning, had a big important meeting at work, and missed a lot of work. So I need to make a good impression, and my beard trimmer died on me half, like three-quarters through my beard. So I had like wolf hair over here, and everything was all nice. So we just had to take it down. In that time that I was doing that, being home, not being able to get up and do stuff, a lot of stuff, when I was able to do stuff, I ended up like catching up on some things. I actually read comics. I played around with Twitter a little bit and got caught up on the big Comicsgate stuff, I guess, on Twitter and was just like, this is ridiculous. And that was another reason I just went ahead and deactivated a lot of stuff. But I ended up catching up on some reading, ended up watching some movies I hadn't in a while. And right when I started this live stream, man, a big downpour hit like outside. So we'll see if the internet stays on and stuff, right? I already got viewers going up and down. So either I'm already being boring or let me know if you can hear me and let me know everything's okay here, right? So some of the stuff I ended up catching up on reading and stuff is over the years I've read this and I think I had about 15 chapters missing. So be able to sit and finally read all of this complete and together, I got to say it was a masterpiece and stuff, right? Hang in there with me, man. It was Service Church and State, okay? Two phone books worth of material that this thing was getting acclaimed while it was being written, and it took years. This thing ran from issue 52 to I think about 108, 111. So that's a lot of issues, man. It took like four and a half, almost, I don't know, 5 years to get that whole story. And I got to tell you, man, it's a masterpiece. It's one of those things that you have to sit down and absorb and read. And it's another thing that shows you what the medium of comics can be and what it can do. Because that thing got existential. That thing had relationships in it, politics, religion, a little Chuck Jones comedy is what it felt like. I mean, it's really about life, power, and perfection, and being the chosen one, and just amazing stuff, man. But at the end of it, he ends up meeting the judge, who's more or less the voice of God, more or less, on the moon. And we learned about the history of man and how we're going to end. And Service ends up finding out he's going to end up alone, unmourned when he dies and stuff, right? And when you get through reading it, it's really a sense of accomplishment that you did something. I can just imagine what it was to make this. Dave Sim was a master of the craft when he did this, no doubt about it. If there's anything an indie comic can do, that is it. The other thing I've been reading, I swear I think I went back to the 80s, right? Is a couple years ago at a comic book convention. I can't remember if it was Salem, Virginia, Raleigh, North Carolina, who knows. But towards the end of it, I saw this girl talking to this dealer at a table, and he was trying to get rid of everything. And he had a short box of quality comics, specific comics. Basically, they were comics from England, 2000 AD inspired. Dan Dare, who else was in there? Strodium Dog, Judge Dredd, all sorts of things. Some old Alan Moore work, Steve Dillon, Garth Ennis, early stuff, right? And it had I got quite a few issues of Judge Dredd, and I've ended up getting into werewolves this month unintentionally. You know what I mean? Like maybe these were influencing me on a subconscious level and stuff because I'm going to show you some movies I watched on werewolves, right? But the first two issues of this little series that came out in the 80s in America through Quality Comic Books was basically Judge Dredd fighting, two issues of him fighting werewolves and stuff, right? Mega City 1 and stuff like that. Then we go to the Bounty Hunters, which was definitely Planet of the Apes inspired to a certain extent, right? But there was just something about sitting down and just reading the comics, not getting into all the controversy and all the things that are going on and stuff, and just reading pure comics and stuff, right? and got to read a few issues of the Strodium Dog by the same guy who helped co-create Judge Dredd. And years ago, when I first got this box, and Strodium Dog was something I wanted to read because I'd actually heard of him before, it was just really strange because when I read this, I was like, this is sort of Judge Dredd like. And oh my God, it was probably the first time I kind of got attacked. And it was one of those things I got real humbled and just sort of was like, I'm sorry, you're right. Didn't mean to step on any toes. But it happens. Okay, I'm not seeing any comments. If anybody's commenting, just keep trying. Maybe this thing will start working and stuff, right? So I got to sit down and just read pure comics. Some great Steve Dillon art, the guy who ended up being on Preacher with Garth Ennis and stuff like that. Some early work. Judge Dredd, and I ended up playing around on YouTube. I wanted to see if there's any YouTube videos about Judge Dredd. Get in there, see what some of the ultimate arcs were in 2000 AD. I think Dredd is already hit his 40th anniversary not too long ago and stuff, right? And what had happened is, hey, yeah, what's up, Matt? Good to see you, man. Yeah, we'll see how long I last here. See if anybody tries to take me down again. But anyway, reading these things as I was trying to find some Judge Dredd stuff, I found a cartoon, which was very cool. I had the Dredd movie. I avoid the Sylvester Stallone Judge Dredd movie from the 90s. And I ended up finding out that the Human League did a song called I'm the Law. And then there was a band named Madness in the 80s. They did a song called Our House. That's the one that they're famous for. Well, apparently they had a side band or a side project, and they had a song called Mutants of Mega City 1. And I ended up finding the album for it, and it has a Brian Boland cover for it. It's a single, right? And I ended up getting on eBay and found it for like $7, included shipping. So that's getting sent to me all the way from England. And I think that came out like around 84 or 85. And of course, the first time I heard of Judge Dredd here in the States was thanks to Anthrax having a song called I Am the Law. The way the heavy metal lore went back then is that they were touring in England, picked up some 2000 AD comics, and fell in love with Judge Dredd, all of a sudden, right? So that was pretty cool. Another thing that I read, and I think I probably mentioned this in a video a few weeks ago when I was able to, is I revisited some New Teen Titans, just a little story arc. Probably one of the first story arcs of this run that I've probably read. It got me hooked. Hey, if you want to talk Judge Dredd, I highly recommend hitting up Uncanny Kyle Waka. He's a big Judge Dredd Strodium Dog Rogue Trooper. Thanks, man. That was from Punisher Comics. Yeah, got it, man. Yeah, I'll check him out. Kyle Walker. I don't know if I've heard of him or not. I've subbed to so many people. A lot of people have come and gone thanks to YouTube taking their partnership and stuff. Right, my feed is weak. Okay, when it comes to comic book stuff, my feed is weak. Okay, but I revisited some Teen Titans, man. This is probably where I think I discovered the he's a cool cat from New Zealand. Thanks, Punisher. Appreciate it, man. But yeah, I made a video a few weeks ago talking about where I discovered him, but I ended up rereading some Doom Patrol, and I went back to the Teen Titans issues 13, 14, and 15, where we kind of see the reemergence of the Doom Patrol into the DC universe, with the ties to Logan and the Teen Titans and things like that, right? Just a little bit of fun. Those comics move. They're packed with a lot of stuff, right? Okay, so it was kind of cool to just sit down and read, man. Had a lot of quiet, listened to a lot of music. I've ended up listening to, I've been listening to some Jesus and Mary Chain. I've been listening to some Lemmy singing with Hawkwind. Look up a song called Silver Machine, which just freaking is incredible, I think, considering when it came out. Oh man, what else have I been listening to? I've just been listening to like a lot of music and stuff here lately and stuff, right? Before I get out. And I got to watch the time, man. I've got a little bit less than an hour to be on here. So just killing some time. Moving on to Form and Void with Cerebus, just to throw that out there. I've already read a few pages of it. This is after it peaked. But some of the stuff in here is just incredible. Dave Sim really pushed his art out. Trying to find there's a 2-page spread in here that was so simple, yet really majestic, man. Yeah, like here's this page. It's just trees. Gerard and Dave Sim doing some trees, and has a bit of they use a lot of negative space in the art in this one, called Form and Void. And basically it's Cerebus, he's finally gotten with Jaka, and he's trying to get back to where he grew up to meet his parents before they died. And I think you already know how it ends. It doesn't end well. And then before I go to bed at night, sometimes if I can't sleep, I've tried to where I've stayed off social media so much, and I am trying not to watch movies and TV and stuff like that, or listen to audiobooks and stuff. I'm trying to read so I can rest and unwind and stuff. And I've ended up reading this beat up copy of Crisis on the Infinite Earth. I think I bought for like $1 a couple years ago out of some antique shop. This thing is beaten up and stained and stuff like that, but the art is just fantastic. I've talked about Crisis on Infinite Earths. I bought this off the stands, issue by issue, back in the day when it was coming out. And to revisit this stuff and see the structure of a story and all the characters that are in here, and just to feel this tension that this was a three-part act. Marv Wolfman knew what he was doing. It was 12 issues. Nothing like this had ever been done. Trying to get all these characters in there, and George Perez is just a beast drawing in this. And this thing really takes off when they get Jerry Ordway in there inking on George Perez. But the first 4 issues are like Act 1, where we get introduced to everybody, and it looks like they're on a mission. Crisis is still amazing. Great prose, too. Absolutely. Thanks. Yeah, absolutely there, man, Mr. Franco. And but the second act is like the one where like it's our Empire Strikes Back, man. That's where we get our 1-2 punch with Supergirl dying and the Flash dying and the villains uniting and stuff. And then we get Act 3 where everything sort of becomes resolved and we kind of move on to see what they had built with this. Did it work? Did it not work and stuff? So many good things, and man, it's one of those things where like I might have to revisit it in a video. And the other thing I'm doing, I'm probably going to sell my single issues of this and stuff. But I'm on volume 5. I think there's 7 volumes of Grant Morrison's The Invisibles. I'm not going to lie, this one is a bit of a chore to read. This is the series where, if you like The Matrix, they claim that Warner Brothers, who owns the movie The Matrix, who owns DC, really pulled from this and didn't give any credit due, if you will, to Grant Morrison, everybody that worked on this. But basically, this is conspiracy and time travel and aliens and just a whole lot of things that there's identity politics in here before there was actually a name for them like that, honestly, and stuff. Some great stuff in here, and this is the series where Grant Morrison claims that he would just get just freaking just get drugged up on whatever, LSD, hallucinogenics, whatever. My collecting is focused on 80s DC right now, but I haven't read Crisis yet. Hey, what's up, Kyle Walker? You've been talked about, sir. He's currently the first person. The messages will pop up and disappear, and I can probably get them pull them up on the screen, but I don't want to mess anything up because this is working. But for the person, here we go. Okay, Tom. Yeah, I definitely recommend Crisis. I would definitely, pick up a used trade to see if you want it and go up from there. Hey, Kyle Waka. I hope I'm saying your name right, man. But I'll be checking out your channel and stuff like that after this. I've been reading some Judge Dredd, and I've been told to check you out. But anyway, with the Invisibles and stuff, this is where Grant Morrison was supposedly taking LSD and all sorts of drugs and just writing. It gets kind of trippy and things like that. It gets into, it just gets into just the metaphysical and all sorts of things. Yeah, cool, man. All right. And then, of course, yeah, cool, man. Can't wait to check your stuff out, Kyle. But so with being sick and stuff like that, you can't read all the time. You just can't focus your head. You've been sick. Everybody's been sick. You know what I'm talking about, right? So I do this thing where I've been like just finding old black and white movies of Sherlock Holmes. I've been watching a lot of House, if you remember House. And I can't believe I never put together that House is nothing but a different version of Sherlock Holmes just in the medical field. He has his addiction like Sherlock Holmes did. He's got his friend named Wilson who would kind of be Watson, but they played it real low, played it real down and stuff like that. So it's a mystery. And I'm noticing the older that I get, the more my thought process is like House. I'm sitting here. I binged watched House back in 2012. I picked up for Matt says I picked up almost the whole set of Prices a Day at $0.25 a piece, trying to rock the Howler hustle. My friend, Crisis at $0.25 a piece. That is a hustle, man. Pat yourself on the back. Well played. I'm proud of you, man. I'm serious. That's awesome. Issue 7 and 8 seem to be a little bit pricey, which blows my mind because issue 1 is worth a little bit of money, and I find that all over the place. I probably have like 3 or 4 of them. Yes. All right. So one of the things I've been watching is the Twilight Zone, but it's the 80s Twilight Zone, and I never know to recommend this to people or not. Okay, I think if you're a fan of the Twilight Zone, you'll be into it, but it's not. It This one goes more for the horror, where I think the 60s, the Rod Serling led 60s Twilight Zone is probably my favorite TV show ever. Okay, and that one has like a little bit of a charm that had some wit, that had some funny. Yeah, get lucky on that one. That's right, man. Yep, he sure did. But this one right here, I enjoyed this in my teens and stuff. I would watch this. I swear, I think it came on Thursdays, maybe Sundays and stuff. And my shows on Thursday, of course, if you were around in the 80s, you had Cosby, Family Ties, Cheers, and then Night Court. And I was a Cheers Night Court guy. You know what I mean? So this would come on around 8 o'clock, and I would be watching this. I think this lasted about 5 years, maybe. But it went into syndication, and I think they just, if I remember right, I think they just finished the last season and a half of this just so they could have enough episodes to put it back into syndication. But it's hit or miss. They've got some brilliant ones in here. I think they just played it way too straight with most of them. I think I'm through the first 10 episodes, and I've watched them here and there. These are actually on YouTube if you want to check out a few episodes, right? But like I said, J. Michael Straczynski, the comic book writer, if you will, now, he was writing cartoons, TV shows, scripts, movie scripts, and stuff. And he has a few episodes he wrote on this, and I think he became the story consultant. A couple years ago, I think it was a Ghost Critic, was collecting. I don't even know if it's still published. They I don't know, IDW, Boom, Dynamite, somebody. Seems like that version of Twilight Zone and Friday the 13th TV series came on late Saturdays when I was younger. Now, Tom, that's probably right because a lot of these shows were in syndication. They put in some money to get this thing going. They got the Grateful Dead to come in and do the theme song, and then they were just kind of pushing it. They were bringing in some people who ended up being bigger stars later, like Bruce Willis and stuff. But the show ended up going into syndication. And if I remember that Friday the 13th TV show, for people that don't remember it, it was only Friday the 13th in name, if you're thinking about Jason and, the movies and stuff. I think that has something to do with there was this antique store that went out and get cursed items or something like that. So it was that. I don't know why they named it Friday the 13th. That where I lived was definitely syndicated. This got syndicated also. So yeah, you're probably remembering right. Yeah, yeah. So yeah, so Tom, you're remembering right, okay? So yeah, but yeah, the '80s without the internet and all these things like that, you kind of had to wonder what was going on. Plus, you had TV shows coming on USA Channel. It was really odd to see actual television series come on cable channels. Uh, I think it all started with TBS with a show called Down to Earth about a 20s flapper lady who got dropped down by a trolley coming back in the 80s to help this family be a family that had lost their mother or something. I don't know. And then the second show I actually remember was actually Swamp Thing on USA. Dick DeRock or something like that. The visuals of that show is outstanding, man. But it was a bad TV show. But the Swamp Thing look of it and everything was awesome. But anyway, really enjoy this. I'm just taking my time getting through all the episodes. I'm trying to think how much. I got this for myself for Christmas. This was a Christmas gift to myself. I'll end up getting probably when my taxes are here, I'll end up getting the complete set of the Twilight Zone from the 60s. But it's got, oh yeah, and it says right here, here's people who worked on this, right? Ray Bradbury, Stephen King, Arthur C. Clarke, take that in. George R. Martin, before Game of Thrones, R. Martin. Wes Craven and William Friedkin, and that's what I'm saying. So far this one's been it's got some sci-fi in there. Don't get me wrong, but this one goes a little bit more for the horror and stuff, right? But so far was on through, and it has Bruce Willis, Morgan Freeman, Helen Mirren, Martin Landau. The Morgan Freeman one, they end up playing poker with the devil, you know. Okay, so the other thing I've been watching, like I said, there's been a theme, man. My favorite Universal monster is Creature from the Black Lagoon. Don't get me wrong, right? But I've always had a soft spot for the werewolves, right? Um, I'm not going to sit here and play middle school like try to like get my best friends all in order. This is my first best friend, my second best friend, but maybe I need to be honest with myself. Hey, Thomas, what's going on, man? Thomas Churchill's out there. Okay, but maybe I need to be honest with myself. I think maybe I'm more of a werewolf fan than I care to admit because I saw The Howling when I was about 8 years old, right? Joe Dante, And that's what's kind of cool about the kid. You start liking certain movies, and especially back in the day, and it's so cool when you find out that all the same people worked on all the movies that you like and you didn't know it. Joe Dante ended up doing Gremlins and a few other movies, The Burbs. All these movies I liked ended up being Joe Dante. And this one has a soft spot on it, man. Thomas Churchill, Enjoying the Rain, awesome movie. Yeah, it. Like I said, there was a downpour here a minute ago, man. Right when I started this, so I'm surprised the internet's lasting. But anyway, but this movie they made it for $10 million, and I think they ran out of money, and they kept shooting. They kept finding ways to get this done. Supposed to be doing a remake of The Creature from the Black Lagoon soon. That's right, Tom. I sort of heard about that, but I didn't know if it was a fact or not because I saw The Shape of Water, and I'm ashamed to admit it, but I found it online back in December. I don't know how that got online. It was high quality, and I watched it, and I loved Shape of Water. So it's I'm all right with the remake of it. I have the collector set over here. I have a VHS. I've carried Creature from the Black Lagoon stuff. I got the movie adaptation by Art Adams from Dark Horse, and I have it signed, and then I have another reader's copy. I used to have a little statue of the creature, and just one of my favorites. I actually have a sketchbook where years ago I drew a picture of the creature from the Black Lagoon carrying a Zero from Planet of the Apes and stuff. I mixed that stuff up. But this movie, they found ways to keep shooting and to keep it going. And the people who were, some of the special effects people who started working out on this or agreed to work out on this, it did end up leaving the movie and going into this other werewolf classic, An American Werewolf in London. And I ended up seeing this. I saw this one as soon as it hit like a rental for VHS back in the early 80s, right? But I ended up seeing this a few years later, and I was just, wow. This is just a fantastic movie. The practical effects make a difference. Now, don't get me wrong, I'm not one of those people that bash CGI all the time. I think you can overuse it or underuse it. I think it's one of those things, less is more. But there's always something about practical effects that just makes puts you in the movie and keeps you there. Howling with the Howler. I never put that together, man. Yeah, so yeah, but I love this movie, man. When I was able to put this movie back in, I haven't watched it in a while. I don't know how long I've had this DVD. I mean, I've watched it and stuff, but it's been quite a while since I got to my werewolves. And when I watched this, it was from beginning to end, and I was finally able to like shut my brain down about a whole lot of stuff, and I was like, yeah, that's a good movie. And now that I'm older, I was sort of seeing a few things. I think the werewolf little there's a little bit of John Landis ended up writing. I think he started writing this movie in the late '60s, and it just sort of was like in the back of his head. And then finally, he just sat down and just did it in the early '80s and stuff. So yeah, these two movies are sort of connected because some of the practical effects. This one they ran out of money and they ended up doing a little bit of little animation there, and there's a close up at the end of a lady turning into a werewolf, and it's like right in her face, and that's because they were in somebody's kitchen. They didn't have money for sets anymore or anything. They still had to do the movie. So I like this one because they went for it and they just kept shooting. They didn't give up, and it was supposed to be low budget, and it really. I think it's really got a lot of heart. This one is just fun. This is the one where it's kind of like a comedy horror drama. You know what I mean? It's kind of like all over the place. You really can't put it in a genre. It gets intense when it gets intense. And I really like the idea of how he turns into the werewolf and how he screams right before it happens, and it's really painful. But he gets with an English nurse who tells him, I've had 7 lovers, and he's like, "Why are you telling me this?" And you're just sort of like wanting to smack him. And this is the early '80s and stuff, right? So to admit that a woman to admit that she had 7 lovers back then, that was very taboo. But they're in Europe, so I guess that made a difference. I don't know. Okay, and then some other things. Hey, they don't make movies like that anymore. Dr. Jordan Pinkleson. No, absolutely not. And I don't think they could. I honestly don't think they could if they wanted to anymore. Unless were independently funded and had a vision and stuff, right? But just two great. And these movies influenced a role playing game that I played in the '90s through a company called White Wolf. Dr. Jordan Pickleson. Oh, thanks, man. Yeah, thanks, man. Yeah. But I played. You got to role play as a werewolf, and the books to learn how to play the game actually would tell you movies to go and watch so that you could get your campaign in and figure out how to do it. You get the idea of what little world building they do. They tell you to watch The Howling, The Werewolf, the original Universal Pictures, Wolf with Jack Nicholson and Michelle Pfeiffer, which I thought was fantastic. I've yet to see Wolfen. There's actually a trilogy that kind of came out that of werewolf movies. I think around the same time in the early '80s or something like that. And I think the other one was called Wolfen. And I swear I think I've seen it, but I don't know. But it seems like it tied into German Nazis somehow. So I may be thinking of a completely different movie. Okay. And now for you syndication horror nuts out there, where we were talking about this and stuff, and you know who I'm talking to, right? A couple years ago, the Great Legend, check out his channel, sent me a bunch of DVDs for free, completely for free. I think the place that he worked was getting rid of stuff, and I got a ton of VHS and DVDs of Three Stooges, and then I got the whole every season. Here's the first and final season of Tales from the Dark Side, George Romero's Tales of the Crypt, if you will, from the '80s, and this was syndicated. And when I got these, I rolled through them and stuff like that, and I was able to kind of slow down and go back and watch those episodes where I would have just the episodes playing back to back. And if I ended up getting up and going out or do something around the house, or I get a phone call or something like that, I missed episodes here and there. This is just a fun and fantastic series of just little half hour shorts, and this was syndicated back in the day, so there was a ton I did not get to see. Because back in the day, your syndication, you'd be lucky if they stayed on the same time slot in the same channel for 6 weeks at a time, right? I remember coming home from school and everybody was all excited because they started putting a local station started putting the original Star Trek on at 5 o'clock. This is probably around '85 or '86, and they only did that for like 6 weeks, and everybody flipped out when they quit, and things like that. Grown ups, kids, everything. It was good times back then, right? And let's see, that's really it. That's all I've been doing. I know I've got some other things to show if I wanted to, but I'll save it for another one. But yeah, that's been it. A crappy February. Sick almost the entire month. Two, three shitty things happening. Messed up my beard, and I think I'm glad we're coming out of it, man. So hopefully March will be a little bit better, man. So far the live stream has worked. My channel strike is gone. It looks like I can do this. Maybe I'll do one in the morning. Um, I got about another 30 minutes to kill, but I really don't have anything else to talk about. Do you guys have any questions? Anything going on out there, man? Because I appreciate all the people that's jumped up here. So give this thing a thumb up. Come back and comment on it. Share this thing, whatever. I got my Twitter back on because I have a video of where I met Garth Ennis pinned. Hey, thanks for the live stream. Can't wait for the next one. Keep the halls coming. Love them. Thanks, Matt. Appreciate that, man. But go onto my Twitter. I have like this little thing from a little video from like 2 years ago where I met Garth Ennis. It's only like 15 seconds or something. I want to figure out how to download that, and I'll probably get rid of Twitter. For you guys that are on Facebook, the Facebook is staying down. I wanted to take Facebook down for probably about 2 years and stuff. And I'm not going to lie to you, man, staying off all the social media and things like that, it does make a difference, guys. It really does make a difference. I'm not going to be one of those people to preach and tell everybody stay away from the social media and stuff, man. But it affects my mood and my stress, and it's really much better. Hey, thanks, Dr. Pickleson. There, I appreciate that, man. Um, I think that's it, guys. It's toxic. There we go. Everybody's jumping in here. Congrats on losing the strike. Unrelated, but what's your opinion on Darwin's Cook, The New Frontier? That's Murdoch the Pooch. Oh, Darwin Cook. Last couple years I've seen, and I don't know if it has anything to do with his death and stuff, but there's a few imitators coming up. The difference with Darwin Cook is that his stuff, his work, if you go and watch it, you think Bruce Timm, you think Batman the Adventures. He worked with Bruce Timm. He did the intro to Batman Beyond. He designed all that and stuff. And then when you see his artwork in the cartoony style, I mean, you think it. You think that it's deceptively simple. But what he does is that this guy gets in there and he does research. When he did the Final Frontier for the New Frontier, Final Frontier, the New Frontier that we're talking about here, he sort of told the story that was a period piece in the 50s, you know, kind of retelling the Silver Age. He put some social stuff in there. He actually did research on what the furniture looked like, the aesthetics and stuff, the signs for the hotels, and he knew his comics and stuff to kind of get that feel for it and stuff. The thing is brilliant. The thing is brilliant, and that's what separates him from a lot of people is that he does the research. I always sort of imagined in his head he fills a cup up, you know, doing all this research, and after he gets it out, it slowly goes down, but he still retains stuff to where he can go back to that. So it's just a fantastic the new frontier is just fantastic. Matt's asking, did I? Hey, all right, people, man, everybody's coming now. Matt is asking, did you watch the new Gotham by Gaslight? Yes, I did. Paulo, what's up, brother? Flows better than Steve Rude's work. I'll get back to that. Yeah, I watched Gotham by Gaslight. I took it for what it was. I took it for what it was, just a popcorn movie. To me, that one wasn't layered. It didn't have a lot of depth. I'm not. I think they should have went darker with it, but that's why I took it for what it was. I've read Gotham by Gaslight since it came out. In my memory, that's where Mike Mignola really got famous, and people knew who he was and stuff. Right? Brian Augustine, I think, helped wrote it with him. And for you guys, people that don't know, that's Batman. It was the first Elseworld before they started calling things Elseworld. It's the story that made them start saying we can do these one shots that are outside of continuity and we'll just call them Elseworlds and stuff, right? But it's Batman in, you know, London and, you know, or Gotham. I think Ripper comes to Gotham in the late 1800s and stuff, and you have a Victorian Batman, if you will, going after Jack the Ripper. I think the cartoon should have went darker, just because I know the story, you know. So, you know, I took it for what it was. It didn't suck. Um, yeah, Matt. Yeah, Magnola's was just fantastic, man. He really put some in there. Now, Jarvis Cook art is more fluid in terms of movement, but Steve Rude knows how to pack the scene with a little detail when he has the time and inclination to do so. The thing about it is that when it comes to Steve Rude and Darwin Cook, man, I just I get how people are kind of comparing them with their art styles and stuff, but Steve Rude, to me, and this is Steve Rude to me is more of the artist than he is the writer. Darwin Cook writes, draws, plans, does all this stuff. Where Steve Rude gets in there and he's about composition and colors and Alex Toth and influences and things like that. Steve Rude's one of those people that I think is just a beast. You know, just a beast with what he does. And then you have Darwin Cook, who's a beast at what he does, man. But it's kind of like Darwin Cook. I think Steve Rude is a more powerful artist to a certain extent, because he's able to focus on art. Then you have Darwin Cook, who's a jack of all trades and stuff, and it's kind of like that talent gets, you know, spread a little bit over writing and drawing. You get what I'm saying? And doing the story and stuff like that. And I think that's what makes his stuff flow, where you can get a piece by Steve Rude, man, and just kind of like get lost in it more because he's a painter and a sketch and works in pastels and oils and stuff. I have an art book over here signed by him that I got off of his website back in the day, where whoever was running his Facebook page actually like talked back and forth with people years ago. So to me, it's kind of like apples and oranges and stuff, man. I get why they get compared, I really do. But like I said, Darwin Cook's more of the complete package when it comes to making a comic. Where in Steve Rude, I find Rude kind of like a Hildebrandt feel. Yeah, 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 and that's what I mean. Maybe same influences or something, or maybe the same art books growing up. I don't know, but I know what you're saying. The Hildebrandt. Now we're talking about the Hildebrandt brothers, right? I'm not missing one here, stuff. The Hildebrands, man, they're beasts also, man. There's some stuff there. I remember having a card series by them. I wonder which one it was. So yeah, yeah, that's them. Okay, fantastic, guys. Man, people are popping in. We're holding strong. Somebody else just showed up. Hey, what's going on, guy? All right, guys, I'm gonna give it a second for some more comments and questions, and then I got to get out of here. I got about 20 minutes to get something done here. Okay, guys. Well, thanks for all it's popping in. It's great to be back. I actually kind of missed it. Hey, how you doing? Kevin Kelly, what's up, man? Yeah. Hey, Kevin. I would probably be doing another live stream pretty quick, pretty soon, man. So I hate that you got here towards the end of it, man. But thanks for everybody that's popped in. This was great. This was fun. And definitely hit that subscribe button and hit that bell so you'll know when I'm getting ready to start another one of these. All right, guys. Later. It's not going to let me go, guys. Hold on. How funny.